Three, two, one. Hello, and welcome to our theories before the finale of Wandavision. I'm joined here with three of my friends who've been watching Wandavision with me. David Ingram.
Hello.
Jack Parker.
Hello there.
And Sean Harris.
Hi.
Jack, what have you thought of Wandavision so far?
I've really enjoyed it. I like the contributions to the larger MCU. Later we'll be discussing like the additions to potential mutant and X-Men ties, which is really interesting because I really can't wait for the X-Men to be in the MCU. Maybe even like the Fantastic Four as well. So yeah, I'm just really enjoying it so far, especially all the magical stuff.
And Sean, how about you?
I mean, I've really been enjoying it. It's sort of cliche to say it now, but it is literally like nothing we've seen in the MCU before, and it's sort of a really interesting concept of the different sitcoms and things like that. Yeah, I think it's my favorite Marvel series, at least, if not one of my favorite bits of their output in general.
Excellent. And David, you?
Yeah, no, I think I agree with everything that these guys have said. Like Jack said, the inclusion of magic in the MCU and connections to the wider MCU are just brilliant. And, you know, it's like Sean said, very cliche to say, but there is no show like it of its kind. So I'm just excited to see how it concludes in the final episode. But so far, I'm very much like laughing in the faces of everyone who judged the first two episodes as, oh, this is rubbish. I knew it would get better, and it certainly did. What about you, Ollie? What about your opinions on the show so far?
I mean, basically, you've all summed it up for me. I was, like you said there, the first two episodes were very different. And I'm glad they had those episodes because I think it does make the other stuff a lot more interesting because we know, because it was that sudden twist of everything. It was a really good like game changer that made me go, I'm really excited for the next episode. I think it really kept me interested for the rest of the series. And I think you needed those first two episodes to really set in the story and the weirdness of everything.
Yeah, I do agree that like the first two episodes, I know a lot of people were saying, oh, you know, it's not, because they were used to sort of, you know, big battles and all that kind of stuff in the MCU, and like to expect each episode, it's a different genre or like era, and like so it's sort of, I think especially because they released the first two episodes together, I think that definitely helped build up the sort of it helped inform people of what to expect each week, really.
I also really enjoyed that throughout the episodes they use the appropriate cinematography and like equipment.
Yes, I mean,
like the ratio of the screen,
the aspect ratio,
the way it was all done, even the way it almost appeared Technicolor when it first transferred to color and all that. I know that's obviously how they did the thing, but yeah, it was just I thought if they went above and beyond to make it feel like a 50s or 60s, you know.
Yeah,
I mean, exactly. A lot of people probably wouldn't have noticed that. A lot of like people who don't really know that much about film. Obviously, we've all studied it, so we look out for those type of things, and it's such a nice thing to see when it's done properly.
And I'll tell you what I actually really appreciate. We mentioned the aspect ratio shifts and all the different technical specifications on this. I really loved how you can tell in the very first episode, so it's all shot exactly like a sitcom, very static, very, you know, square Academy ratio in terms of the way it was framed and shot. But then the moment when something fishy happens, so for instance, when Mr. Hart in the first episode goes a little, he starts repeating himself and he starts going a bit strange and a bit funny, even though, and the wife's trying to act normal, but you know, something wrong's going on. And then you get that slanted tilted shot and zoom into Wanda. And you can just tell that, you know, it's a nice mixture of tones, and I just think it's very clever in terms of its technical makeup. So for those of people like us who love the technical side of things, it's got a lot to give. For the casual viewer, obviously people got a little bit confused by the first two episodes, but I think it definitely pays off sticking with it for the long run.
Yeah,
I like it when it breaks the fourth wall, like it breaks the sitcom style when something goes wrong, when something's awry, like you said. I also like that when we finally get into, because obviously the start of the last episode that we just got, which was episode 8, it starts with the MCU, the normal MCU movie opening, which is different from previous, and it's because the previous episode, which I believe was called Breaking the Fourth Wall with Agnes, that's like the final break, and now we're in the MCU. We're not in a sitcom. We're not in a TV show. We're now watching events unfold.
Yeah,
which I think is really nice how they organically got to that point.
Yeah, because if you think about the eras they've done as well, the last one where it was a sort of a cliche TV series, that it was pretty much modern day. So it's sort of they've built their way up to the MCU sort of thing.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it's definitely given me really high hopes for the other two shows, Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Loki.
Yeah.
Not that I wasn't looking forward to them, but now it's like WandaVision has been so good. It's like as soon as I can't wait for those two shows to come back on. So let's look into our theories. Sean, what's your first theory?
So my first theory was that Doctor Strange will appear. So it was, to be specific, it was that he would appear in the final scene of the finale. He wouldn't have a big part in it. More importantly, that he isn't the big cameo that Paul Bettany has mentioned and sort of said, which obviously that's sort of been somewhat proven now.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
but not the specifics of it or sort of where in the episode. You know, he could have a big part in it. Personally, I'm expecting him to maybe, like, you know, the final, like, depending on how long the episode is, like 20 minutes, like, you know, the end scene to sort of set up Multiverse of Madness, the next Doctor Strange film. But that's all I'm really expecting of that.
Because obviously we've known for a while that Elizabeth Olsen is going to be in that film.
Yeah.
And that it will link into WandaVision. That was one of the sort of the first things they confirmed. So it would be nice to see Doctor Strange return, obviously.
Yeah.
Sadly, I think I really hope it isn't the big cameo, because I think it's obvious. I'd much rather be surprised with someone else and still Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
I'd still be very happy if it is Doctor Strange. Benedict Cumberbatch is an amazing actor, and I'd love to see more of him.
See, the reason I think he isn't the big cameo is because I think Paul Bettany mentioned he mentioned work, because he said that he's not worked with the actor before, and I did a bit of digging. They have worked on something together, but I don't know whether they were in a scene together, but they've appeared in something together before. And I think he did outright say that the big cameo isn't Benedict Cumberbatch, but obviously that might be sort of
entendre.
He could be trying to sort of, it could be a bluff, and he's trying to like, you know, misdirect people. I don't think he is the big cameo.
Has anyone else got anything to add to that?
I currently assume that he'll be the big cameo simply because in the next time trailer, or whatever you want to call it, the promo for the next episode, there's a clip from Doctor Strange in there, and I think that why include that if he wasn't? I mean, I agree that he'll show up in some capacity. However, I don't want him to be heavily involved in whatever the big fight's going to be, because it cheapens Wanda's arc as a character.
Yeah.
So if he's going to show up, he can just show up through an orange ring like he normally does, and go, "Oh, I can teach you to control your chaos magic."
Yeah.
Which later on we can discuss more what that means and what that is.
Yeah.
I personally think that the big cameo is probably going to be someone playing potentially Mephisto, because we still haven't met Ralph, Agatha's husband. So that could be a big reveal that's still yet to happen. Not to mention that in the comics, both Wanda's children were shards of Mephisto's soul. And if the MCU decides to take that storyline and literally use it, another reason for Mephisto to show up.
David, you got anything to add?
Yeah, no, I agree that I think he'll be the big cameo, but not the one, obviously, that has been mentioned. I will get into that in just a moment, like with one of my theories. But I genuinely think, he'll turn up in some respect. I do agree that and I think I want to side with Jack on this one, in the sense that I think that he will be there as the mentor to lead us into the events of Doctor Strange 2, the Multiverse of Madness, to really sort of kickstart that relationship that we're going to see on the big screen in the feature film. So I don't think he'll be involved in the battle. As cool as I think it will look, I think that would cheapen that. Like, why would you go and see Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness if you've already seen half the action happen, or at least half the best stuff happened, or a portion of it happen in the TV series? So I do think they'll save him for the feature film. rather than use him up in this. But yeah, it's undeniable that obviously because of what we've recently seen as well with the trailer as well, which dropped after the episode, that he will appear in some respect. Obviously, we've only seen archive footage.
To add to that, David, I would like to say that what you could end up happening is if Mephisto doesn't show up, Agatha could still be connected to him, and then Mephisto as another, reality-threatening entity, the devil of the Marvel Universe, that could be the big bad, like Dormammu in the first Doctor Strange movie. And Mephisto could be the threat of Multiverse of Madness, and that would then tie into WandaVision because she'd have a personal vendetta against him for taking her children away, or however that plays out.
That does link into another one of my theories that I'll get to in a minute, but it's that I'm also thinking along those sort of lines.
So Jack, what's your theory?
Well, we've discussed most of it. The only thing I've got for a theory still, which I'm less inclined to believe now, is that the Marvel comic book character Nightmare will show up. The thing is, there's no hints in the last 2 episodes that he will. There were I think it was the intro to the second episode, you saw the helmet of the character between the floorboards, and they kept using the term nightmare to describe what Wanda was doing, or technically what Agatha was doing as well. You know what I mean? It's possible he could still show up, like if they wanted him to be another bad. I think it might be a bit too late to introduce him now.
I think it sort of depends on what they do with the finale. I mean, I'll explain in a minute, but I think we are going to be going into a feature-length finale. I don't think it's definitely not going to be another 30-minute episode. I don't think it's even a 45-minute or an hour episode. I think we're going to be looking at least.
I thought it was just supposed to be 1 hour.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be. I don't think it'll be 2 hours. An hour minimum, maybe. Like sort of.
There's still so much they need to wrap up from what we've seen.
Like for instance, the Monica, after the post-credit scene of episode 7, where we see Quicksilver, Pietro, whoever he is, whichever version it is, the apparition of him, where he was like, what was the line? Boo-hoo, just scares her, and we don't know what's happened to her because we spent the whole episode literally finding out, Wanda's backstory, really enriching ourselves with Wanda's backstory, which was really lovely episode. I loved the episode. But yeah, we've still got loads and loads to cover.
Yeah, because I mean, it took me ages. It took me until the episode to realize we didn't see Vision, we didn't see Darcy, we didn't see Monica, it was pretty much just, obviously we saw Vision in the flashbacks, but we didn't see X-Vision. It was mainly just Agatha and Wanda.
I would mention that since Monica, the reveal that she's got her powers now, which means she can be Spectrum from the comics, which is or a version of Captain Marvel, because she does take on the alias as well. I think she might have had it first before Kara, actually. I think that she'll play a part in the finale because Wanda won't have anyone else to turn to other than Vision. But I mean, who knows what's going to happen with the Vision off, which I'm sure is going to happen as well. Fake Vision versus other fake Vision. So I think there'll be probably a big battle with a lot of energy blasts, and I think that'll be most of the final episode, really.
I can definitely see a lot of their budget being used on that. The final big battle. Anyone got anything else to add to that theory?
No, I don't think so.
I think we covered everything. Unfortunately, everything that weeks ago, because it holds little relevance now, but we all predicted that Agnes was Agatha Harkness long before the reveal. Obviously, because we're now 2 episodes into her being revealed. It's not as important, but it was. I will discuss something that I thought was interesting in this episode, and that was in the comics. Agatha is from the Salem witch trials, and she is burned at the stake, and obviously she doesn't die. It's all because she was a witch. In this, they decided instead of having it be regular people kill her, it's her own coven of witches. I thought that was a nice change, especially with her own mother turning against her. It does add more motivation, because the reason she wants to understand Wanda's powers and to essentially steal them from her is to prove that she was right to disobey the orders of her sisters. And if Wanda agreed with her, it would justify her history. But of course, Wanda's not going to agree with her. So it's going to end up being a clash of personalities because at the end of the day, Agatha is wrong. And so it's going to be, it'll probably put Agatha off balance because she'll be emotionally distraught that she's still alone. There's not a new witch in town that's going to agree with her. She's still alone. That could, if she does survive this series, that could tie into Doctor Strange because you've got Mordo now, too many sorcerers at the end of Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
exactly. It could easily tie the two of them together. Or they could clash, be another clash. Because remember, if he's anti-sorcerer, he's not going to like Agatha. I mean, that could be another thing. I'm sure that'll tie in as well, because they're going to have to bring him back for Doctor Strange too. And if they decide to bring Agatha as well, then they're going to have to tie. It'll be easier to tie their plots together. I'm looking forward to that. I really want to see them interact, actually, if Agatha survives.
I hope she does.
Episode.
Yeah, no, I agree. And also back to your original point, Jack. I loved, just like you, I loved the whole twist of it's not just a burn to the stake by regular people trying to find witches. It was witch on witch, and that's what it really changed things up. Like you say, moving forward, obviously, I also would love to see. I mean, I'm loving the sassiness and the character and the whole her whole persona of Agatha in this. So to see her fully fledged and interacting with characters that we already know and love, and obviously too many sorcerers, I really want to see how that sort of goes down in the in the film if she does survive the events of all of this.
I've just remembered something actually, which is kind of funny. Obviously, this series is set, I think, 3 weeks after Endgame.
Yeah.
And I think Spider-Man Far From Home was 6 months. Right. And do you remember that one of the teachers in that kept blaming Mysterio stuff on witches?
Yes.
So it actually gives, if what the events of WandaVision became public knowledge, it explains why he kept blaming witches for everything.
Was that the was that the teacher, not the main the guy
not
with
the main
glasses?
Teacher,
was he the maths teacher? Yeah, the support teacher.
Because when Peter scans everyone with his glasses, it says he's like studying the history of witches. So I thought it was really. I think that's in hindsight, that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
That it can tie together like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be a nice little sort of nod in Far From Home, towards it. Obviously going back on it, if you go and rewatch it after watching WandaVision, then that will sort of it will sort of all link in together.
What about you? What's your theories?
Well, obviously we've discussed the whole Doctor Strange stuff. That's that's quite prevalent. That's quite clear that most of us agree that he will appear in some sort of form. I have 2 particular theories that stand out, one of which is stemmed from the events literally of the last episode that just happened, but one which I'll mention now that's sort of out there kind of thing. And it goes back to what Sean said about the big mysterious Avenger cameo, which has been reported that Paul Bettany has talked about, and it's not Doctor Strange, it's not Benedict Cumberbatch, someone he hasn't worked with in the Marvel universe by all accounts. I reckon my theory is that I don't know how, or at least it'll be maybe to do with the cleanup of the instances of Hayward and the events of and all the goings on with Sword, and how they're trying to use Vision, use this fake Vision that we discovered at the end of the last episode of episode 8. So it might be something to do with that, him taking back control, because obviously the last time we saw this character that I'm going to mention now, so it's Nick Fury. I actually think that Nick Fury is going to make an appearance in this. I don't know how, but I feel that is the cameo that Paul Bettany is referring to. I could be wrong, but I feel like I did a little bit of research and I looked at who he hasn't worked with, and Samuel L. Jackson did not appear in Avengers Age of Ultron alongside Paul Bettany. He didn't appear in it at all, actually. But
no, he did.
He did. He's on the helicarrier.
Let me rewind. But yeah, so Nick Fury, I think, is the one that will be potential for that cameo that Paul Bettany's on about, because I don't think they've ever shared a scene together. They've been in the same film, but they've never shared a actual proper scene together. And obviously Sam Jackson is quite a legendary figure in terms of acting talent, in terms of in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that isn't the obvious ones of the original Avengers, who you're not going to see come into this show in the likes of Iron Man or Captain America, which you will not see. I do think that he'll turn up like sort of in like maybe the last few moments, just to sort of maybe, I don't know, like be a big FU to Hayward and beat him up in the end, or something like that, or do something that will sort of shift things tonally from making Sword the villain to something else. Because obviously last time we saw Nick Fury, we saw him in with these Skrulls at the end of the end credit scene of Far From Home, because obviously the Skrulls were taking over the places of Nick Fury and Maria. I forgot what her name is. What's her name?
Maria Hill.
Hill, yeah. And Maria Hill. And I just think that it's possible that maybe he's done what he has been doing in outer space and he needs to come back, and he's decided to come back and sort of sort things out. But that's a very basic theory, very bare bones of it. So, but yeah, I think it could be possible. Also, the other thing as well is if you take into account the fact that Jack says that we mentioned that Far From Home is 6 months after Endgame. This is 3 weeks after Endgame. So maybe it's not even a case of actually thinking about Nick Fury
coming back to be in space yet.
No, exactly.
So, yeah,
he might not have left yet, so he could still be around. He might have been, I don't know what he's been doing, but if he does turn up, he could, it's only 3 weeks since the end, so he might be somewhere else.
I mean, this could be what ends up sending. He could end up going to space because of what happens here. Like, it's
He could take Monica with him if she's not, because apparently was indicated that she's had a falling out with Carol, and that could be now that she's got powers, that could tie. I assume she'll appear in Captain Marvel too. So he could easily go up with her. Because remember, if let's be honest, here's a theory that Hayward will be taken down by the end of next episode. Monica will have the opportunity to be in charge of Sword and turn it down because she's now got powers. But she potentially gives it to someone she trusts that allows her, and because I'm pretty sure that the outpost in space that Nick Fury was on is a Sword outpost.
That is actually the sort of basis for like my idea, really, because I think I read somewhere and I did look it up that is meant to be related to Sword. So that's kind of where I thought there might be a bit of a link. But obviously, thinking about it now, the whole 6 months, 3 weeks difference, he's probably still around. And obviously, there's this connection to Captain Marvel, the second Captain Marvel film, where this series is really good in the sense that we're setting up Doctor Strange, which we've already been told, but it will also probably inevitably set up a few bits for Captain Marvel directly.
Obviously, doesn't I think Doctor Strange then sets up the third Spider-Man, doesn't it?
Yeah, because Doctor Strange is in Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, so I think we're going to be almost looking at almost like a 3-parter. And then Spider-Man. Obviously, with the really big rumors that Spider-Man 3 is going to be sort of a multiverse type thing.
With Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire.
Fingers crossed. We'll see.
Hopefully, we'll be able to then get hints to Spider-Man from Wandavision. That might be a bit of a stretch, but
I think the seeds will be laid. We won't get much more than that yet.
I'll go on to one of my theories, and I think I'm going to start with the most out there. I have to admit, this isn't 100% my theory. I did find this one on the internet, but I like it too much. Mephisto has been hiding in the series the whole time. It's Senior Scratchy, Agatha's rabbit.
I mean, I would love that.
That would be very interesting.
Or that Ralph is the rabbit. Ralph the rabbit. That works.
That could. Yeah, it could work. Yeah, like that's.
I'll put the article that I got this from in the description. When I was reading, it was like, it makes so much sense.
Yeah. Like,
but Mephisto went by both the names Nick Scratch and Jack Scratch. Obviously, Scratch and Scratchy. Very similar. And there's also Agatha's son, Nicholas Scratch. I mean, it could just be a link to Agatha.
Yeah.
It would be nice if actually he'd been hidden in the series the whole time. And I mean, obviously, witches are known for turning people into animals.
Or having
maybe she's done that to either protect Mephisto or overpower him.
And maybe actually, I mean, here's a random theory just to throw it out there. Maybe, obviously, a load of us we're expecting Mephisto to come, and what if we link in the fact that maybe he's the rabbit, but what if there's an extra twist? What if it was Agatha all along, and the Mephisto's been trapped in the rabbit because of Agatha, and then Mephisto escapes the rabbit form, overpowers Agatha, and then that sort of leads us into Doctor Strange 2, where Mephisto's reign of terror sort of unravels, and obviously Agatha's on the run from him, and she's like, we kind of get that nice little anti-hero basis of a character. So she's still a bad guy, but like you get this essence that she might be able to change her colors, but then at the same time you don't know. Have a bit of a Loki effect on it, maybe. That'd be an interesting idea.
I've just thought actually she could, because remember she's quite a powerful witch, but her power has to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
And just as the Ancient One was drawing upon the dark dimension to stay young, Agatha could be draining from Mephisto's dimension, and perhaps Mephisto is not in favor of her doing so, and that could cause like like no honor among thieves, sort of bad guys don't stay working together for very long before one grabs power from the other.
Yeah. I mean, just look at Loki and Thanos. That's like,
yes.
Doesn't really lead too much to places, but in episode 7, where Monica confronts Wanda, there is the delivery man.
Yeah.
You look at his uniform. Company he works for is called Presto. Seems in like, hey Presto for a magician.
Yeah.
And the logo is a rabbit. Obviously, it's possibly just a coincidence. Marvel do like to sort of put things in like that.
Yeah, like references that don't necessarily lead anywhere.
But did we not see him when Wanda drove to the house in the last episode?
Yeah.
I want to say we did, yeah.
Yeah, I can't. So it might just be an Easter egg, or if he is tied to either Mephisto or something. Because once again, once again, you could still blame Agatha because she messed around with the neighbor before, and she could easily have allowed him to go. Like, for example, when Sparky went missing, it was like, oh, your mum won't let him get far. Like, how does he know that? How does he know that? So it's possible that he was already doing something nefarious in the town. If he is. We're essentially just looking for any excuse to say Mephisto's already around or something.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So to link the postman, obviously in the last episode when Wanda was leaving Sword, she has that letter in her car. Like, we don't really know where that came from. That sort of sends her to Westview.
I assume that before the events of Infinity War, they had signed up to move to get in together.
Because actually, if you look at the letter itself, it's in red ink and it's signed to grow old, where we can grow old together with a V for Vision. So
it does say it's a deed for Wanda Maximoff and Vision as well. It does.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. To be fair, that one I was just sort of throwing. I literally just thought of it just then. Like,
fair enough. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, the way this show is going, I wouldn't be surprised if they just throw something at you.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. Really all for it.
Maybe Mephisto was the estate agent.
Hayward is Mephisto. That's my theory.
Yeah, so I think, guys, what we can learn from this is, yes, it was Agatha all along, but we need a new song. It was Mephisto all along, but we need a slightly different tone. So, we need a different song just to finish the series off with one last
nothing will be Agatha all along. I'm sorry.
No.
Greatest song of all time.
I mean, that just
is good. I love it.
So shall we discuss some of the reveals of the last episode?
Yeah, why not? Let's go for it.
Okay, so I'll start with the reveal that Wanda and her brother already had their powers before the Mind Stone.
Yeah.
They just needed enhancing. So obviously in Age of Ultron, the way it used to work was that Marvel owned the movie and television rights for Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, but so did Fox.
Yeah.
And they were not allowed to use the term mutant to describe their mutants. So they called them enhanced individuals.
Yeah.
And that's why we even had the, actor crossover from X-Men. And because Disney now own Fox, which is why we ended up getting this Easter egg crossover with a new Pietro. Now that they've revealed that Wanda's had magic before, it now shows that the Mind Stone didn't give them their powers. but enhanced their powers. And the reason they survived, I'm sure will be revealed, it's because a bit like they've already done it in Agents of Shield. To survive, you had to have the inhuman genes so that the diviner didn't kill you. And it's the same here. The Mind Stone didn't kill them, and it enhanced their abilities because they had the mutant X gene. Now, I know it hasn't been said, but I'm almost certain that's going to be revealed. And that leads us to getting the X-Men into the MCU. Also, another theory that we haven't discussed, which I don't think is possible now, because it'd be a bit weird, is Magneto showing up in the finale. I know that was a theory for a while.
Yeah, I think that's nice. I think if with someone as big as Magneto, they're not going to reveal him like this show. Just like with the theory that Reed Richards was a scientist, they're not going to reveal their Reed Richards in WandaVision.
Yeah,
especially because they've only just started production on Fantastic. You know, they're not going to have their Reed Richards yet.
Now, do you guys know what chaos magic is? So,
I mean, I think I feel like, because you're our resident comic book expert, I feel you should explain for us. I mean, I have a little inkling, and I know some of you guys don't know exactly what it is. So, do you want to tell us a little bit more about chaos magic?
Yeah. So it's revealed that at the end of the episode, Wanda gets christened Scarlet Witch by Agatha, and it's because her magic is chaos magic. What that is she can alter the probabilities of things. So in the reveal of Agatha even said you were sat there worried that the bomb was going to go off, and you had nothing to worry about because she'd already cast a spell, and it made that the probability of it going off be so unlikely that they were safe. And that's what Wanda's. Obviously, she has energy manipulation and stuff like that, but in the comics, it's all about she can alter probabilities to the point of altering reality. So the famous this story takes a lot of the No More Mutants storyline, but even that was just removing the probability of mutants themselves. It's something as literal as that. So I think that with her being in Doctor Strange, and with her ability to actually, because even Agatha was like, where did you study? How did you learn this stuff? And obviously, because it is chaos magic, it is chaotic. It is not really learned, but perhaps she can learn to control it. I'm sure Doctor Strange might be a little out of his depth trying to help her. Together, they would be able to learn and understand her powers. And also, what I do like is when they showed the Mind Stone. I don't know if you guys noticed, but there was a figure that appeared in the Mind Stone.
Yes, I did. Yes. I noticed it. Yes, it didn't it look exactly like her comic book costume? Because I noticed the spiky horns and like the way it looked. Like that's literally. I'm so glad you mentioned that actually, because I noticed it immediately. Because obviously we're familiar with this comic book based outfit from a Spooktacular Halloween. So I think episode 6. So behind that, there it is. But yeah, we're familiar with that image already. And I think that was very clever storytelling on the people who created the show, like everybody who structured it well. Like that's a really good move. Like you've planted the image there for anyone who doesn't know it from the comics anyway. And it's in your head from the Halloween episode. And literally, so the stone exploded, and then you see this figure, and like, I was like, whoa.
Well, I can't wait for her to get that costume in Doctor Strange 2.
Yeah,
all they need to do
fully fledged one.
Yeah, all they need to do is merge her previous outfit with the helmet, mask, whatever you want to, headband, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Add that to her, have her embrace, I am the Scarlet Witch, and that's who I am. Because it's not the Mind Stone that caused me to be who I am. I have this power anyway, and I'm going to use it to do good.
Yeah.
No, I was going to, no, I couldn't agree anymore. Absolutely. Do you want us to kick off another theory or?
Yeah, I was going to say,
have we only done the first one of each of us now?
To be fair, we've led into a couple of others. Like I've gone through 3 of mine.
And
now.
we're on like a second tangent, I think, at the moment, like a second wave, I think, but we've done some others along the way. So I think.
I mean, do you guys have more theories? Because the reason I started discussing things is I thought we were out of theories.
I've got 2, but they're minor ones.
I was literally just gonna say, I think there'll be this battle between these two and Vision and how he's gonna live and shit. That was one of my last ones.
Yeah.
Did I ever end up doing my one about Mephisto being? I know we've touched on it now, so I won't really did I mention the one about Mephisto being her husband? Did we just do the one?
I've already discussed it, so I
Yeah.
suppose I must have just,
Because there's a little bit in that I've sort of but I mean the other extra bit for that was that like maybe obviously if her husband is Mephisto, maybe he's like amplified her he's amplified her powers. But that's basically the only extra bit, really.
I mean, one of the other things I was thinking about is Vision. Obviously, before this, we presumed he was dead, and there was a lot of speculation when Wandavision was announced as to how the Vision was actually there. I mean, we've had it semi-revealed now. I think he will survive. It was interesting when he came out the Hex, he definitely did have a Mind Stone in his head. It wasn't like a gaping hole. I mean, hopefully that does. I hope he does. Because I really like the Vision. Paul Bettany is such a good actor. I mean, David, what about you? What do you think?
I mean, yeah, I'm on the sort of similar wavelength to you. I genuinely think that I think he should survive, because I think it would be, I kind of, on one hand, I feel like for Wanda's story, because obviously Vision is so very closely connected to Wanda, you're really, I don't know, I feel like to have him as a tiny part of the Doctor Strange film, it would be very much like, something for her to, like, if she goes all like bat crazy after Doctor Strange fails to teach her how to control her chaos magic, maybe, and he's the one that brings her back to being good old Wanda that we all know and love as the good character. So I feel that would for him to survive would be necessary in some respects, but obviously at the same time I'm willing to accept if he does just get killed straight off, and that sort of just fuels her anger through on. But at the same time, I think he should survive. And obviously, as you say, he did manage to get partially out of the Hex. I think the Mind Stone thing, I think that's just an aesthetic thing. I don't actually think it's an actual Mind Stone, because obviously we now know, because of the events of the episode 8, that he was created through Wanda's magic. So that really could just be purely aesthetic, because that's everything in WandaVision is based on her memories. And obviously she knows him with the Mind Stone in his head. She's never really known him without it. So that could be just purely aesthetic. It might not be. It might be something more complicated, but that's just what I'm going to say for now. In terms of the finale, I think there should be definitely a Vision on Vision battle, like a proper battle between the two of them, at least for like a small set piece of some kind. But then ultimately, I think they will merge together in some, like, after their fight, they will somehow merge together, and then Vision will be able to move completely outside of the Hex and live fully as himself and retain all of his memories from before, possibly, because they did use the remnants of Vision to create this Vision Point 2, or whatever we're going to refer to him as. But yeah, that's one way I think he could survive, fight, and then merge together and then lead on into Doctor Strange. But like I said, he could die for all we know. So, I
mean, Jack, have you got anything to add to that?
Well, most of what David said, I would agree with, especially with now that it's revealed that Hayward lied. He used to say, Wanda came in and stole Vision's body. Well, she didn't.
No.
So I think that there is no real Mind Stone, but it is because Wanda, when Wanda's energy is so similar to the Mind Stone that she was able to destroy the Mind Stone. And since she is capable of producing Mind Stone powers because she had her powers enhanced by the Mind Stone, she's essentially created not a real Mind Stone, because that would be potentially absurd. I mean, it could be.
They've done Stranger.
She's created I'm sure that all of what Vision was to her as a person is concentrated where the Mind Stone is situated on this fake Vision that she's created.
Yeah.
So even though it's not the Mind Stone, it is what Vision is, at least to Wanda.
Yeah.
You've obviously got this fake Vision, this sentient weapon, that Hayward has created with Vision's actual body. Now, when they come into conflict, I'm not sure what powers this fake Vision is going to have, because at the end, you see him fill up with energy, and the Mind Stone slot is blue. Now that might just be an aesthetic, because it's weird that it's not red, since the energy they stole was red in color. So will he be shooting blue lasers out of his head? Is that a power that this fake Vision is going to have? We don't know, but they're definitely going to have either a physical fight, at least very briefly. They'll either absorb one will absorb the other, and either Vision will die, like the version that Wanda has created will cease to exist, and win, cease to exist, and Wanda will have to kill Vision, at least in the body form, again, or they'll absorb together and Vision will take back control of his body because Wanda's power and will and Vision's will, or at least her view of Vision's will, allow him to defeat this, soulless android. It sort of applies to in the comics. I think it was I'm going to butcher this quote. A quote that Magneto said about Wanda's children was that Wanda's magic cannot create a human soul, and that her children were human souls. Like, I know Mephisto, shards of Mephisto, but they were humans. They were their own people, and they deserved to live. It's essentially the argument that Magneto was making. And I think the same could be applied here to Wanda. She did not create Vision's soul, but he did have a soul. He was a living being. And I think that Wanda's magic and image of him may, especially love, because love is often the cause of a lot of things, powerful things to happen, might be enough to physically resurrect him. However, I think allowing him to survive would remove motivation for Wanda to join Doctor Strange and learn her magic. So I think that unfortunately, we're going to have to let Vision go. Wanda is going to have to learn to let it go. And I think that Vision will sacrifice himself by defeating evil Vision, and they'll cancel each other out. I think that's more plausible.
Yeah, the poor guy's died 3 times now.
Yeah.
But they always say third time's a charm, so who knows?
This time he's really dead.
He's dead for good. Really Is he though? But this is the thing: if we get the multiverse in and stuff, we'll just inject Vision from
steal an alternate Vision, no problem.
Yeah, exactly. Alternate Vision with Paul Bettany as the role again. So if we kill this one off, we'll just bring another one in.
Scarlet Witch and Elizabeth Olsen's Vision.
Oh, God. Yes, I want Paul Bettany in the comic accurate Wanda.
There's probably a picture of that somewhere.
Oh, make it happen, internet. Make it happen.
Finally, Sean, have you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, so mine is very similar to Jack's last one. Basically, Vision will die again. I'd imagine, Wanda will have to kill him, and then that will then because she's had to do that again, I'm thinking it might cause another reaction similar to when Pietro died in Age of Ultron, and there's all that energy around, all her powers, and it sort of vaporizes everything around her, and I think that will sort of set off another sort of done on sort of the mentality side of it. It'll sort of cause her to break down, and I think possibly she will be the villain of Multiverse of Madness, or at least sort of for the first sort of act of it, she'll be a villain, and he will and I think that in Multiverse of Madness, Doctor Strange will have to use will not bring him back to life, but have him appear to her sort of as she remembers him, to sort of so this is, if anything, this is more of a theory towards Doctor Strange more than WandaVision, but it's how WandaVision leads into it. But yeah, that he will sort of use the image of Vision to bring her back from what is essentially her depression and that is in this show. Or another possibility that, again, like Jack sort of touched on it, Vision will merge with this new body, but I think possibly he will survive until Doctor Strange, and or at least sort of somehow appear in Doctor Strange with this new body, and that will sort of help bring her back. Maybe she won't be aware that he's still there. Maybe in the merge they'll end up having they'll disappear somehow or something, and so she will believe that he is gone, setting her off, and then Doctor Strange will either find him or become aware of him being there, sort of use that to bring her back to sort of the good side.
I have just thought actually that what could happen is, I mean, that would obviously, none of what you just said could happen with what I just thought of, but you could have a moment after the merge, if that's what happens next episode, where Vision could survive, and they actually and he talks to Wanda, and Wanda chooses to let him go, and then he dies, rather than have him die a brutal way, because he's already dead. We're watching a memory of somebody. It's not very relevant, but there was a show. I don't know if you guys have ever watched the show Red versus Blue.
I know.
One of the characters, Church, learns to let Tex, basically the memory of his dead wife, go, and then she disappears. He learns to let her go after trying to recreate her over and over again. He lets Allison or Texas go. And I think a very similar thing could happen here, where Wanda learns that she has to move on. This is not what Vision wants. His living will was, I don't want to be brought back. I want to be all he wanted to be was to be human. So treat his death the same. Humans die, and so did Vision. And I think that Wanda may have to learn that lesson.
No, I agree.
That'll be interesting.
I think also, if you sort of look at it's like, so the way she's been acting is a lot of it is sort of, it's following like the stages of grief. And obviously the last, there's acceptance, and she's not reached that one yet, so she needs to accept his death, and so it could end with her, like you say, letting him go and sort of letting him rest. And
so
now let's watch the last episode and let's all be wrong completely.
It all ends with a dance party and
guys
shows up, dances off with Mephisto. I think that's how it's gonna end.
Or it'll be literally we'll just pan back behind a set of cameras and you'll just hear someone go cut and the whole thing's fake. It's all a TV show, guys.
It wouldn't surprise me. Kevin Feige just stars as Kevin Feige.
Oh no, I want it to pan backwards to a camera and the rabbit is sat there.
Oh yeah.
Although actually no, so not the rabbit, but like the whole it panning back and it all being like that, it could sort of still do that as like I'm trying to have, and have sort of an unseen figure, or like obviously we've said about Mephisto and stuff, like have it be that actually like it was sort of them seeing what Wanda does, like that could I mean that
is Doctor Strange's cameo.
That could be a possibility.
Doctor Strange's cameo, it could be.
Well, no, I mean, not even Doctor Strange's cameo. Maybe it
was Mysterio's drones the whole time, not real.
Because actually, you think about the digital, right? The actual VFX of like the digital world. I know she's created it, but it's very weird how similar the television pixelation looks to
when the
images that Mysterio creates. Yeah, no, absolutely. But no, also we're talking about the rabbit. On a final note, wouldn't it be great if you just see Sparky just sat there?
Yeah,
Sparky.
David. The dog's gone, and you have to accept
it. He's not gone. I will not let it happen. No, I'm joking.
Sparky all along.
No, it's not the same. Too. And it was actually Doctor Strange. No, I'm joking.
So, have anyone got anything to add on before we get to the last bit?
Okay. One final thing. It's just another theory. And that is that Tyler Hayward is Mephisto. Imagine if Agatha is working from the inside, and
he's working from the outside.
I think that could be it. It would explain. I mean, to be fair, maybe he should just be a douche and not be, a demon. But it would explain why he's a douche if he was a demon, because they kind of go hand in hand, don't they? So, but he's probably just a power-hungry person.
I mean, it would give him motivation, though. So I think that's a nice idea, to be honest. A great idea that I think if it turned out to be true, then
I wouldn't be
disappointed. No.
Yeah, I think it would make a lot of sense as well if like because obviously he I mean, like, sort of at the moment, what are his motivations for this? Like,
yeah, literally.
Yeah.
Do you guys think the show is going to get a second season?
No, not at all. It's literally it's a one-off show, which is to set up a big one of the next feature films in this phase of the
setting up phase 4.
Yeah.
I think they have said
it's a shame, but I think at the same time, I'd much rather they do that than extend a story that doesn't need extending.
It doesn't need extending. I mean, this is essentially, I mean, this is my hot take on it, kind of. WandaVision is basically the Scarlet Witch solo movie, which we're never going to get in a serial form. That's essentially what it is, because you get the backstory, you get, emotional setup for like the after effects of Endgame, you get all these things, and setting up the rest of Phase 4, I think it's fine as it is. Like, so that's definitely. Don't touch it. Don't go further than.
And also, so Kevin Feige, he said, I can't remember the exact quote, but it was something like basically not all Disney Plus shows will get a second series, and it was I think it was in response to a question about whether WandaVision would get a second series. So I think he sort of basically said, no, not this one, but some of them might do.
Yeah, I mean, I can see personally Loki and WandaVision being one-offs, and Falcon and the Winter Soldier being maybe get another second season at a push, like sort of recurring. They'd be the recurring series then. And then obviously we have new ones every now and again. But I genuinely think because of the circumstances of Loki with Endgame and how he escaped and how this links into it, I feel like he'll have to be put back into place somehow, be it setting up something in the actual film universe or just to finish it off.
So that's been the video. I'll be doing a second part of this soonish, where we will see whether our theories were right, and we'll give sort of an overview on the show as a whole. I want to say a really big thank you for you three for helping me out on this. If you want to quickly plug yourselves, feel free to. I'll let you start, David.
Okay, thank you very much. So I do a film podcast, so it's Take 97, a film podcast with me, the host, David Ingram. We are on Twitter and Instagram. So Twitter, it's at Take 97 Podcast, and Instagram, it's Take _97 podcast. We do all sorts of stuff. We're posting regularly, and you can find the podcast itself on Spotify, Anchor, and Apple Podcasts as well for all your movie related stuff, and maybe even something related to this at some point as well. So tune in for that, guys.
Thank you very much. And Jack, how about you?
So I have a YouTube channel. It's just called Jack Parker on YouTube. If you type in Jack Parker JP Media, that's what I used to be called, you'll find the channel. I'm also on Instagram, which is Jack_Parker_media.
Brilliant. And Sean?
I don't have anything to plug at the moment. I'm sort of in the process of making things. Maybe by the second part of the video, I'll have something to plug, but not right now. It's sort of in development. So watch this space.
Can't wait to see it. I've been Ollie Marvin. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye. That's a wrap.